Okay, brother, good question. I knew that was going to come up, mashallah. How do you know you're being punished for a sin or being tested? So in general, if a person's carrying out all the fara'id, all the obligatory things, a person's doing it inside their life, then all of a sudden, for example, a person, their family dies, or they lose their wealth, or something happens, so a person knows that they're doing all the fundamental things they need to do, then this in general can be classified as a test. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test believers. Don't think that sometimes we think that, oh, because I'm praying, I'm doing everything, I won't be tested. Allah will test us. And that's why you have to show firm your faith. That's why sometimes some brothers and sisters have been afflicted with cancer, then they start asking questions that, I was such a good Muslim, why is Allah testing me, or why is Allah doing this to me? You can't ask that question. Because if you're a good Muslim, good believer, you accept it that your body belongs to Allah. And if He wants to test you in that way, you have to accept. That's non-Muslims who then begin to weaken. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see that if I weaken my servant, how much is he still devoted to me? Because if all of us are given everything in our life, it's very easy to say we believe, we obey. But when some difficulty comes to you and then you obey, that shows that now you're obeying from your heart. Now if you're living in this environment, you're living in a Muslim environment, for example, and everyone's praying around you, you're praying because everyone's doing it. But now if you're plucked and put in a different environment, you're placed in a college and university, you're placed in America, and you decide to stop and pray, why are you doing it now? Because your belief in Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed us all in this environment at the moment is a test. We're placed as a test because why? Allah knows that's why you find some ulama mention that people who guard themselves and do good deeds in these environments will even get double the reward, triple the reward of a person who might live in a Muslim country. Why? Because they don't find the difficulties that we find. They don't find the obstacles that we face. Yeah, they have their obstacles, but it's not as bad as our obstacles. So that's in general a rule whereby a person can tell it's a test from Allah. And then sins, a person can clearly tell when a person sins, or a person, for example, drinks alcohol and then the following day something happens to them, or they get liver cancer, whatever it may be. That's a sign. That's because of the sinning. They've gone into that. So it's a fine line. It's a famous book by one of the ulama called Trials and Tribulations by Ibn Abdus Salam, a Spanish scholar. He got a whole book, I think it's been translated in English, talking about trials and tribulations. You can look at that, inshallah. And I'll go back and read it myself to refresh my memory as well, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.